Well, let's now get the thoughts of John Longworth, Director of the Centre for Brexit think tank and the Chair of the Independent Business Network, having left the British Chambers of Commerce after saying the UK's long-term prospects could be brighter outside the EU. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. So the government says if there is no deal, which it describes as an Australian-style Brexit, we would make it a success. The former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has said Australians would not regard their trade relationship with Europe as a satisfactory one, warning the UK to be careful what you wish for. Do you still believe we could do OK, do well, thrive without a deal?
Absolutely. In fact, a no deal, a WTO exit from the European Union, is better than most deals that could be achieved, quite frankly, because it gives us complete freedom. I mean, it's very interesting to hear the report that said Barnier wants fair and free trade. In actual fact, what the European Union are arguing for is protectionism, the absolute antithesis of fair and free trade. They want to protect their markets while they decline relative to the rest of the world. Britain wants to trade the world, boost the economy and have the freedom to do that. We can only do that if we actually meet the Conservative Party manifesto commitments. We just heard a Conservative talking about what the Prime Minister needs to do. He needs to actually deliver the manifesto commitments, which is actually to have complete sovereignty and control over our economy, even though he was dealt a very bad hand by the Remainer administration of Hammond and May.
So what value, though, is that complete sovereignty if in the real world of hard cash, business deals, trade, the need to get imports and exports quickly because of the need, for instance, in the car market of getting parts in quickly? We've seen Honda having to shut down temporarily because there has been disruption to supply chains in pharmaceuticals, in fresh food. All of those things obviously very important to have a quick and efficient just-in-time supply chain. If that is imperiled, what does sovereignty matter actually when you compare that with the day-to-day that people are living and experiencing?
But we trot out this day-to-day nonsense all the time on the media.
What's nonsense about those
if you let
statistics?
Me explain, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Only 8% of businesses in the UK have any trade relations whatsoever with the European Union. 92% trade either with the rest of the world or domestically within the UK. Those businesses, the vast majority of the economy, are being held back massively by the European Union. The 8% that trade with the EU, there will be challenges and there will be opportunities. But all those things that you just mentioned, irrespective of whether we leave or not, I mean, the whole thing about Honda is to do with COVID, nothing to do with Brexit whatsoever. Just like the whole business of the ports being clogged up is to do with COVID and containers being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Incidentally, Felixstowe is also clogged up with PPE that's pretty useless and needs to be disposed of. Freight forwarders whose job it is to export and provide the services for most businesses in the UK are absolutely on this because it's their entire business. Importers similarly. As for the auto industry, the reason the auto industry constantly bleats on about this is that the trade associations in the auto industry are entirely populated by German, French and Italian companies in whose interests it's not the British interest. So we can actually do extremely well around the world by leaving the European Union on WTO terms.
So I just want to go back to what you said, because you said about the 8%, only 8% of businesses in the UK have trade with the EU. But
Correct.
In terms of the total exports and imports for the UK, it adds up to 43% of UK exports, 51% of imports.
Yeah, but that 41% is declining. Only 30% of the economy is actually to do with trade with the external world at all. And the majority of that, increasingly so, is with the rest of the world. So actually, the percentage of GDP that represents exports to Europe is 13%. So we're actually letting the tail wag the dog here. And it's completely wrong for the Conservative Party to not fulfil its manifesto commitments, which was to enable the UK to compete with Europe. And that's exactly what they don't want, because they know if we leave the European Union and succeed, the EU is finished, because people will recognise the fact that it's a declining sort of mini empire. It's already halved its relative size to the rest of the world within the last 30 years. Britain needs to break free, grow, and actually become part of a global trading system again.